Welcome back to Ancient Echoes. Today we sit beneath the Bodhi tree on the most important night in human spiritual history. It's 528 BCE. A man named Siddhartha Gautama has been sitting in meditation for 49 days. He's exhausted every spiritual technique known to his time. He's practiced extreme asceticism until his body nearly died. He's studied with the greatest meditation masters. He's pushed himself to the absolute limits of human endurance, and none of it worked. So on this night, he makes a radical decision. He stops trying. He simply sits and watches and waits for the truth to reveal itself. As the night deepens, something extraordinary begins to happen. The veils of confusion start to fall away. And by dawn, Siddhartha Gautama has become the Buddha, the awakened one. What he discovered that night would echo through 25 centuries and transform the lives of billions of people. But here's what most people misunderstand about the Buddha's enlightenment. He didn't discover something mystical or supernatural. He discovered something about the nature of human suffering that was hiding in plain sight. The Buddha saw four fundamental truths that night. We call them the Four Noble Truths, but that translation makes them sound more complicated than they are. Think of them as four observations about your actual life, right now. The first truth: suffering exists. Not a very profound statement on the surface, right? But the Buddha wasn't just talking about physical pain. He was talking about a deeper dissatisfaction that runs through human life like an underground river. The Sanskrit word is dukkha, a pervasive sense that something's not quite right, that we're not quite complete, that this moment isn't quite enough. You know this feeling. It's there when you finally get what you wanted and discover it doesn't satisfy you the way you thought it would. It's there in the constant restlessness, the scrolling, the searching, the feeling that happiness is always just around the next corner. The Buddha simply asked us to stop pretending this isn't happening and look at it directly. Stop numbing it with distractions. Stop running from it with busyness. Stop covering it up with temporary pleasures. Just look at it. See it clearly. This isn't pessimistic. This is honest. And honesty is the beginning of freedom. The second truth is where it gets interesting. Suffering has a cause. And that cause isn't what you think. It's not your difficult circumstances. It's not the people who frustrate you. It's not your past trauma or your present challenges. The cause of suffering is craving coupled with ignorance. We crave things to be different than they are. We crave permanence in a world of constant change. We crave a solid, separate self when everything in existence is interconnected and flowing. And here's the key insight. We suffer not because we don't get what we want, but because we don't understand the nature of wanting itself. Every craving contains within it the seeds of disappointment, because everything we grasp at is impermanent. Everything changes, everything passes away. Think about it. You want the perfect relationship. You find someone amazing. For a while, it's bliss. But then familiarity sets in. You start noticing their flaws, the magic fades, or the relationship ends through death or separation. Either way, the craving for permanent happiness through that relationship leads to suffering. The same is true for success, for wealth, for health, for anything external. Not because these things are bad, they're not, but because we fundamentally misunderstand their nature. We expect them to be solid and permanent when they're actually fluid and temporary. The Buddha said, all conditioned things are impermanent. All conditioned things are unsatisfactory. All phenomena are without inherent self. These are called the three marks of existence. Everything changes. Nothing fully satisfies our craving for permanent happiness. Nothing has a fixed, unchanging essence. The third truth is the revolutionary one. Suffering can end. Not by getting everything you want, not by controlling reality, not by becoming someone else or going somewhere else. Suffering can end by understanding its nature so completely that you stop creating it. This isn't about becoming passive or indifferent to life. It's about finding a deeper satisfaction that doesn't depend on circumstances being a certain way. It's about discovering a peace that exists even in the midst of life's inevitable changes and challenges. Imagine being able to experience loss without being destroyed by it, to feel pain without suffering over the pain, to want things without being enslaved by the wanting. This is what the Buddha discovered is possible. The fourth truth is practical. There's a path to this liberation. The Buddha called it the Noble Eightfold Path, but we can think of it more simply as 8 areas of life where we can practice wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. Right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Notice he doesn't say perfect understanding or perfect speech. He says right, meaning aligned with reality, appropriate to the situation, conducive to well-being. Let's make this concrete. Think about your life right now. What are you suffering about? Really, take a moment. What's causing you stress, anxiety, frustration? Now ask yourself how much of that suffering comes from wanting things to be different than they are. Not from the situation itself, but from your resistance to the situation. The traffic isn't making you suffer. Your belief that the traffic shouldn't be there is making you suffer. The difficult person isn't making you suffer. Your expectation that they should be different is making you suffer. Your past isn't making you suffer. Your refusal to accept that it happened is making you suffer. This doesn't mean you become passive. You can work to change traffic patterns, set boundaries with difficult people, heal from trauma. But you do it from a place of acceptance of what is, not from resistance to reality. Here's a practice the Buddha taught that you can use right now. It's called noting. When you notice suffering arising, stress, anxiety, frustration, wanting, simply note it. You can even say silently to yourself, wanting, resisting, clinging, pushing away. Don't try to stop the feeling. Don't judge it. Just note it with the same neutral curiosity you'd use to note raining or windy. This simple act of noting creates a space between you and the suffering. You're no longer identified with it. You're observing it. And in that space of observation, something remarkable happens. The suffering begins to lose its grip. Not because you've gotten rid of it, but because you've stopped feeding it with resistance. Let me tell you about a key concept the Buddha taught called the second arrow. When you experience pain, physical or emotional, that's the first arrow. It's unavoidable. Life shoots arrows at everyone. Someone you love dies, you get sick, you lose your job. That pain is real and valid. But then we shoot ourselves with the second arrow, our resistance to the pain, our story about what the pain means, our judgment that it shouldn't be happening. Why me? This is terrible. I can't handle this. Life is unfair. That second arrow is optional. That's the suffering we create ourselves. The Buddha's teaching is about putting down that second arrow. The first arrow will still hurt. But the pain of one arrow is infinitely more bearable than the compounded pain of both arrows. The Buddha spent the remaining 45 years of his life teaching this simple but profound recognition. You are not your suffering. You are the awareness that can observe suffering arising and passing away. And in that awareness lies a freedom that no external circumstance can touch. He taught that everyone has Buddha nature, the capacity for this awakened awareness. You don't need to be special. You don't need to be holy. You just need to be willing to look directly at your experience without the filters of wanting things to be different. He also taught about the middle way, the path between extremes, not self-indulgence and not self-mortification, not grasping at pleasure and not punishing yourself with austerity. The balanced path of living wisely in the world without being enslaved by worldly concerns. This middle way applies to everything. Don't ignore your problems, but don't obsess over them. Don't deny your desires, but don't be controlled by them. Don't avoid pain, but don't seek it out. Find the middle ground where wisdom lives. Over the next few days, try this. Notice when you're suffering, not big dramatic suffering, but the small everyday frustrations and dissatisfactions, and ask yourself, what am I resisting right now? What do I want to be different? Then, just for a moment, see if you can accept what is, exactly as it is, while still taking whatever action is appropriate. Accept the traffic while you sit in it. Accept your feelings while you feel them. Accept the present moment while you live in it. Notice how much of your suffering dissolves when you stop adding resistance to pain. Notice how much more clearly you can respond to challenges when you're not caught up in wishing they weren't happening. This is the Buddha's gift to you 25 centuries later. Not a religion to believe in, but a practice to embody. Not a set of rules to follow, but a path to walk. Not an escape from life, but a fuller engagement with it. The Buddha didn't ask anyone to worship him. He said, "Be a lamp unto yourself." He invited people to test his teachings through direct experience. Try them. See if they work.